Hi, this is Mr. K's, and this is 6.2b. 6.2b. We saw quite a bit going on after the Punic Wars were over. We saw the rich get richer and the poor get cheesed off. They lost their land. Slaves were coming into the empire. We saw a bloody civil war. Julius becomes dictator or Caesar for life. He gets bumped off, and now we end up with Octavian, who's also known as Augustus Caesar. Ruling. He gets rid of his enemies outside the empire and inside the empire. Now we're going to have a 200-year era of Roman peace. It's called the Pax Romana, P-A-X-R-O-M-A-N-A, Pax Romana. Pax is Latin for peace. Romana, Roman. And for about 200 years, trade and peace is going to be the order of the day. All roads lead to Rome. All roads lead away from Rome. We see a commonality and a unity in the empire based on the roads and common coinage of Caesar's coins make trade a lot easier in the empire. The Romans had a great department of transportation. Why? To bring goods back to Rome and to bring soldiers from Rome to other parts to put down rebellions. And Roman culture is going to spread, cultural diffusion. The Roman army is going to tab people from each provinces for support. So they have to serve in the military. When they leave the service, they become citizens of the empire. So they could be foreigners, but they become citizens of the empire when they serve their military duty. We have a stability in government during this time. With a civil service, that means people that take civil service exams to prove their worth, and they help the empire to be ruled. It even survived very unstable rulers. Caligula, who was a sexual deviant and a very cruel man. Nero, who was certifiably insane. And Domitian, who was paranoid that people were out to get him. Well, I guess they did, because he got bumped off. So these three unstable emperors were on the throne, and yet the empire didn't collapse because you have these middle-level managers taking over. Domitian, assassinated. He's the third of the three bad emperors. Problem here. When Caesar dies, there is no law of succession. Wouldn't you think that Junior would take over? Well, that's not the case. So every time there was a vacuum in the power structure, civil war was a possibility. And it's not until 96 AD you have an emperor by the name of Nerva who begins that tradition of adopting an adult male heir to succeed him as ruler. Notice it doesn't have to be his son, because the fear is maybe Junior is going to bump off Dad before his time is up so he can rule earlier. So Nerva gave the empire a greater stability by saying just before he dies or retires, I'm going to name you as my heir. So you have less civil war now. Now, what was life like post-Roman Republic? Family was center of the society. And the head of the family is called the paterfamilias. He is the head. He rules over the family. Women had nearly equal power, though they weren't allowed to vote. Boys were favored over girls because the name is kept through the boys, and they go out and earn paychecks. Wealthy children were educated, and of course the poor couldn't afford to send their kids to school, so they had to work. Slaves were treated very cruelly. And if there were slave revolts, they were put down. There was a famous slave revolt named after a slave, Spartacus. And he led several hundred slaves successfully to revolt. Eventually it was put down, and each one of them were crucified and put along the main highway. It's a warning not to revolt against the empire. Slaves were sometimes tabbed to be professional fighters. They were called gladiators, and a lot of them were forced to fight to the death. They might be put in the big Colosseum, and it was blood sport. Let's see how long this guy can go before he gets killed himself. So life was cheap. and they didn't really care too much about slaves. The Romans did adopt, as we saw before, the Greek pantheon of gods. Zeus is actually called Jupiter in Rome. Poseidon is called Neptune in Rome. Same gods, different names. They honored these gods with statues, worship days or festivals, and shrines. And later on, emperors demanded that they be worshipped as gods themselves. The gap between the rich and poor, boy, does that grow. And of course, there's a lot of joblessness, so people are getting restless. There could be a civil war. So what the Roman government did is they took the minds off the troubles off the minds of the people by providing entertainment, free entertainment, whether it's games, horse races, mock battles, gladiator contests. It was free, and it was meant to distract the poor. By about 250 AD, there were about 150 holidays in which no work could be done, but there were games and free food. Hooray! So people were taking their mind off of the troubles that the government faced. And as I said before, you go to the Colosseum to see blood sport with fighters and wild animals. Well, it shows that life in Imperial Rome was very decadent, and life wasn't worth a plugged nickel. This is Mr. K's, and this is the end of 6.2b. I'm out.